Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to share with you my review of the SNAA Giant Axe model kit. This is my first model kit from this maker, and at least under this brand name, and I believe this is their second installment in the 144 scale model kits of the Round Table Knights. This one is called Giant Axe. The first one, I believe, was the Iron Sickle, which is quite popular in the community, but I haven't had a chance to build that one. And they already have released a third one, which I think is in pre-orders right now. This particular kit I got from Gundamit, and a quick message about the store. I buy almost all of my figures and third-party kits at Gundamit.com. They offer great prices, awesome customer service, and a nice points program. If you decide to shop for your next kit or figure there and would like to support this channel even more, consider using reviewer code SKH. It helps the channel a lot. As always, do your own research and only purchase from stores that you are comfortable with. Now, back to the video. So I got mine for, I think, about 40 bucks Canadian, which is a pretty good deal. Compared to some real grades from Bandai, for example, this is a rather competitive price. And for that money you get obviously the kit itself, as you can see here, and it comes in a nice neat box that looks like this. It's matte paper, looks pretty nice. It has this grade indicator, almost like a real grade-esque indicator, but this one is obviously states Beyond Exquisite. I think that's their name for 144 scale kits. Nice decent plastic and paper here, some line art, some poses, and the manual that it comes with is also pretty decent. It's got nice prints, it's thick colored paper on the outside. The instructions themselves are black and white and there are multi-steps, but the parts where you actually have an interaction during the process, they are highlighted in red. The build process itself is very simple. It's straightforward, there's nothing really too complicated. First you build the inner frame for the entire kit, and then you move on to the armor. A couple of pages on the armor, then you move on to the accessories and then you move on to the accessories, and you kind of finish up assembling the entire kit. And then you also have a rather small sheet of water decals, so there's not that many of them, but they are pretty good quality, and it's enough to add that extra level of detail. It's not too much, and given the scale, it's enough, definitely. As for the construction itself, I wasn't able to come across any glaring issues or mistakes in the manuals or anything like that. It's a rather straightforward build. The inner frame, as I said, you build that first, and the inner frame here is rather basic, so do not expect it to be like the inner frame of, for example, Real Grade 2.0. It's the same kind of scale from Bandai. This one is like a decent master grade inner frame inside a 144 scale. This one is rather more simplistic inner frame. For example, in here you can see the thigh armor separation, the knee armor separation. Obviously it has a core fighter in it. Like, this is just next level inner frame for the scale. This one is a bit more simpler. It's like the one that Akatsuki has. So it's not a mass joint by any means. It's a full ABS plastic, I believe. But it's pretty good. This inner frame is definitely sufficient for the scale and for the accessory set that this kit comes with. In terms of accessories, the packaging is pretty decent. So obviously you have the kit itself, these shoulder kind of looking armors. They're actually attached to the backpack via the kind of articulated arms, somewhat similar to what 160 scale monument repair time type Tallgeese comes with, just much more simplified, and they hover over the shoulders. but they look like they are part of the shoulder armor, even though they are actually not. Then you also have two fold-out swords. At the moment they are attached to the backpack, and obviously the most striking accessory that this comes with is the axe itself, as it's named after. In addition to that, obviously the V-fin is a rather unusual bullhorn style. You have an alternative V-fin that's a more traditional style right here. And you also have a lot of sets of hands. So as you can see right now, my right hand is a 90-degree angle holding hand. My left hand is a pointy finger left hand. Then you also have pointy finger right hand, so you get a pair there. You also have a left hand 90-degree holding angle. Let me find that real quick. There you go, this one. So there's two pairs of hands. Then you also have a pair of hand of open pre-post hands, once again left and right. Then another gimmicky pre-post hand is like metal horns. Very cool looking set of hands. I have never come across anything like this, and it's very nice touch. Definitely unexpected. Then you also have a hand of a pair of holding hands, but they are like at a slanted angle. So more angles to hold the weapons. And there is also a pair of bold up fists, just straight up. There are no articulated hands, and I think in this scale that is absolutely fine. I don't think I've ever come across a set of hands in that scale that would be articulated and actually functional. That will be extremely difficult, but you get enough hands that are pre-post, and they are very precisely molded, so they hold the accessories as they should very well. In terms of the construction, it's a very straightforward construction. So if you are let's say, a newer builder, or you don't like complex builds, the only thing you have to deal with here is the size of the parts. Obviously, for this scale, it's a rather small kit, all things compared and considered, so you got to deal with slightly smaller parts. But almost everything is undergated, which is great. The inner frame construction, the armor, the accessories, all you need is a hobby knife, a pair of nippers. If you got your gut hands or some other nippers, they'll be more than enough. You don't have to do any extensive sanding or cleanup unless you want to paint this or you want it to look really presentable. And even then, the only gate placements that might give you some grief would be the ones on these floating armors. So there is a gate mark right here and here. So it's because this is a painted, not painted, but colored plastic, pre-molded colored. The gate mark stress mark on the gate remover will be quite obvious, and the only way to get it absolutely invisible is probably painting over it or doing a lot of sanding. And unfortunately, this part on the inside has the same problem. There is a very obvious gate mark on the inside of this part. It doesn't really catch the eye easily. It's white part, it's kind of in a shadowy area, but once you see it, it's a bit annoying, I'm not gonna lie. There is also a gate mark on these purple bull horns. It's actually on the inner circumference of the bull horn, but it's very thin. It's very easy to remove it carefully with a hobby knife. And then if you use like a plastic spudger like this one, the flat side, you can just kind of rub it over the part and it softens it, so you no longer see the white stress mark. The plastic quality itself is actually pretty good. So all the white plastic has a very subtle texture to it and a pearly finish to it, like the 160 Togis once again, or like perfect grade unicorn, for example. So it looks fairly decent without any panel line, without any top coat, which is great. The purple plastic is a bold move because it's very easy to mess that up. I've had kits that had, the color plastic and the molding was a bit messed up. So you could see kind of color swirls or inconsistent color. This has none of that. It doesn't have any real texture to it, so it looks, you know, color plastic always comes through much better if you have a chance to top coat it. This is not exception, but for example, I couldn't top coat mine. The weather is still not favorable in Toronto, so you know, this is bare plastic and it still looks fairly decent in my opinion. Then obviously it comes with a fair amount of transparent plastic, and this is how this kit does its accents for the most part. It's through a combination of transparent plastic on the main body and these kind of plasma wings or cape, not entirely sure how to call it. I think it's a kind of cape, but made out of plasma. That plastic is very good quality. It's consistently transparent. It's a bit foggy where it seems to be intended to be foggy. Obviously the wings, they are two large parts. I have never seen a kit that would come with really large transparent parts that would not have some shipping or maybe even pre-shipping packaging damage to them. These are not exception. There are some minor scratches here and there. You can try to buff them out with a polishing cloth. I tried, I couldn't remove them entirely. They are not easy to see, but if you try hard enough, you'll be able to spot them. It also comes with a small runner of pre-plated gold plastic. So that's used for accents as well, which is pretty cool considering the price. As I said earlier, this is 40 bucks, I think. At least at the time of my purchase, it was 40. With like free shipping from Gundam, so it's a banging deal. For example, Real Grey 2.0 in Canada goes for about 50 or 60. Obviously something like Akatsuki Real Grade is a rather more expensive Real Grade, so that's well over 100 bucks. MG RX 78-2 version 2.0, I think it was like around 50 bucks when I got mine. So this is very competitively priced, also considering that you get everything in a package that you need to build a kit. Water decals is something I'm personally a sucker for. I do not like stickers. If I don't have, if I want to build a kit and I don't have water decals for it, I would rather apply no decals to it. But I digress. In this case, the plated plastic is the way they do the accents, and there is a fair amount of inner frame sticking out through the armor. So, for example, on the waist, on these upper lower leg parts, cuffs, or in the middle of the chest, for example, this is all supposed to be gray, dark gray inner frame coming through. I don't like that. What I like to do I like the fact that it comes through, but I don't like gray parts like that. They don't really catch the light very well. So what I prefer to do in this case is, if I have the time, I apply chrome marker and to all those parts that kind of stick out, so they can then catch the light. And if you decide to do that, be very careful. Chrome marker, I use DSPA chrome marker, for example. It's very, very gentle. Even when you let it dry out, if you touch it too hard, you can mess up the chrome. So it makes the kit a bit more brittle in terms of how you have to handle it. But I think it's worth it because it gives it extra shine. I also applied chrome marker under these accent parts so that the chrome can catch the light and it makes them pop a bit more. In terms of these hovering shoulder armors, they can also be used as a kind of set of jetpacks because they have thrusters on their sides. As you can see right here, they have little thrusters. Of course, the backpack will be the main kind of propellant. But what I did with them is there are a couple of lines on these armors that I panel lined with chrome. If you decide to do that, it's a bit of a pain in the butt to clean it up, but once again, it gives it extra pop. The chrome kind of goes away if you then top coat it with flat, but I like to do that quite a lot with my kits. Once again, whenever I can spare the time to do that, because it's a bit time consuming. As for the fold-out swords, you can also panel line them or do a lot of accents because they have this along the sword running lines that I panel lined with chrome, and the white blade itself I panel lined with a panel liner. And also for both the swords and the axe, I decided to weather mine with some testers, silver paint, like some dry brushing, and some soft touch Gundam markers for shading in the kind of nooks and crannies, just to give them a bit of a pop. Otherwise it's just flat gray plastic. It doesn't really look all that exciting. And I went a bit heavier on axe, obviously. So why don't I remove some of these accessories, and we're gonna go through the articulation real quick, and then we will do some size comparisons as well. So bear with me for a minute. All right, so with accessories removed, as I said, you have two of these fold-out swords. They can be held in the hands. There are two kind of handles for them, or they can be attached to the backpack. The backpack attachment uses this kind of action-based hole. It's a bit flimsy. It's very easy for them to fall off, so be careful with that. And as for the axe, it's a rather simple construction. You have a two-part construction on the upper and lower hilt. It's a bit flimsy, obviously, because this is a single piece of rather thin plastic. The blade itself is a single big chunk of white plastic. I think it's fairly smartly done. The jet thrusters from the plated gold plastic is a nice touch, and it can be obviously double-handed as well. So for the kit, for the articulation, it's quite good. As I said, the inner frame is rather simple but sturdy enough for the scale and the weight. But the simplicity means that there are very, very few, if any, armor connection gimmicks. I don't think there are actually any. So as far as the head goes, it's a rather simple ball joint attachment on both sides. There is very little front and back kind of swivel there, side to side, very easy. It's only limited by the chest armor. Then as you go down to the shoulders, the shoulder actually have a, let me flip these guys up. They have a butterfly joint, the shoulders, but it's very nice. It's very interestingly done. So usually a shoulder would have like just a receptacle hole, and then the peg from the chest would have the receptacle hole, and the shoulder would have the peg that slides into it. In this case, the shoulder it still has a peg, but the chest has a kind of tube that sticks out of the body, and then the peg slots into that tube. And the way they kind of hide the connection point is through these spacers, which is a very, very nice touch by them. It adds more to the aesthetic, but it also does a smart thing of hiding the shoulder connection. And it does not sacrifice any articulation, because technically this spacer is part of the tube that sticks out. So pretty neat move by them. Elbow is double jointed, so you can fully fold the arm without any problem. There is a really good ab crunch, so you can see it crunches very easily. And this is the only place where you have a armor connection gimmick. You can see that the armor kind of shows up as you do the front crunch, and as you do the back extension, the front of the joint actually shows up. But it's very, very good extension. Like, it's quite a bit of range there. Side to side swivel is super easy. It's a peg attachment from the waist to the torso. Then as for the waist itself, the skirt's front attachment is rather simple. These are ball joints that are held by the front armor. The same on the back. The side skirts are a bit weird. They have like a double-sided, bit weird looking attachment point. It's a bit flimsy in my opinion, and it also makes it so there is no up and down attachment. If it was just a ball joint, I think I would have preferred that, but it's not a very big deal. It makes them, I guess, a bit sturdier. They do kind of flip around a bit, but you cannot really slide them up and down. The legs, regular peg attachment, it can kind of slightly slide back and forth, the waist itself. And also at the bottom of the waist is where you have the action base attachment. It doesn't come with an action base, but it should be compatible with your action base of choice. That hole seems to be large enough to accommodate your action base connectors. There is no a sliding armor gimmick in the thighs like you would have on Real Grade 2.0. and the knee can be bent for about 90 degrees. It's limited by the thicker armor on the back calves. There is also no knee sliding gimmick. The knees are actually connected to the calves, and they look pretty nice, and you still have your articulation. Your front and back is only limited by natural causes, I guess. If you flip out this cape away, you can pretty much do a soccer kick easily. Side to side, also a fair amount there. These things not being able to swivel up and down is what prevents, like, I guess, half splits. So maybe side to side is not as crazy as it could have been if these were differently attached. And then as you go down to the feet, the connection between the cuffs and the feet is hidden by this 3-piece armor set. So it's a side-to-side armor and a front piece that hides that connection. The foot itself swivels side to side, but it's limited by the armor. There is a bit of front and back movement there. Let me show you like this. So there is a bit of front and back, side to side as well. And the also feet itself, like the front and back part of the foot, so the heel and the front of the foot, they are separately articulated too, which is a very, very nice touch. They are not too loose, so it makes it difficult to pose the kit, and it's good that they articulate like that. You can have some more interesting poses that way. And that's pretty much it. This kit articulation is fairly decent. There are a couple of interesting solutions that they came up with. As I said, side skirts is not my favorite, the way they kind of solutioned that part. It's a nice touch what they did with the backpack, having these very 1/60 scale monument repair type kind of things that are attached to the backpack, and then they have the cape and the floating armors attached to that. Yeah, and in terms of size comparisons, I think it is a really good presence for the scale. As you can see, when you have a Real Grade 2.0 next to it, they're pretty much the same height. Granted, this one is a bit of a moving pose at the moment. But if you were to strip the side armors from this, they would be pretty much stacking up next to each other. Maybe this one is a bit taller. But the Real Grade 2.0 is also not the biggest Real Grade. And if you compare it to something like, let's say, Akatsuki, now, in terms of scale, for the grade or size for the scale, this is a bit fairer comparison because Akatsuki has a massive Shirui pack, and it's just a bit of a bigger kit for the scale. Obviously, if you try to have this kit next to a 1/100 scale, even a smaller one like this Master Grade RX-72 version 2.0, you can immediately see that these are different scales. This has thicker legs, bigger torso. Overall, the scale is bigger, as it should be, right? And this is a smaller Master Grade as well. Like, your average Master Grade will probably be bigger than RX-72 2.0. And in terms of third-party kits, I have in Era Thunderbolt here. This is definitely a hefty Master Grade scale kit from their RMD series, which is technically 1/100. This big boy, you can see the difference, right? The backpack alone is probably more parts on the Thunderbolt than the giant axe. So yeah, in terms of final remarks, I think this kit is fantastic. For the price, for the quality of the execution, for the packaging that you get, for the price, it's really good. I was really pleasantly surprised by what SNAA did. The entire building experience was really straightforward and rather simple, which is what I was hoping for. I didn't want it to be overly complicated. And it's true to the scale size. So if you have like a Real Grade collection, or you want something that is in your average Real Grade size, this is gonna hit the mark. If you like the design, I think the quality of plastic, the packaging that you get, everything is pretty decent. And this is what, second, right? They already have 3 in this grade and in this line. So I'm very curious to see what the line shapes up to be. I'll see if I can get a hold of the other members of this line and grade. But I think what I'm gonna try to build next is their 1/100 release. That one looks quite interesting and a lot more transparent parts there. We shall see. In any case, as always, I will post the building process in a separate time-lapse video soon after the main review. I very much look forward to interacting with you in the comment section, and please do let me know if you plan on building this kit, what you think about this kit. Maybe you have already built it. How does it compare to you with the Iron Sickle, or what do you think overall about the line? I very much look forward to interacting with you there. Leave a like if you enjoyed this review. I also hope you enjoy the beauty shots, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.